actually watched the entire work session online.
Hey,
You're awesome.
Was the audio good?
The time.
I know, thank you. It was okay. It wasn't great. I could hear, but I had to kind of turn it up.
We missed you so much. We refused to do another one.
Without
Oh,
you.
thank you. I appreciate that.
So we're doing it, what, 6 now? 5.
Yeah.
Because you know what? We're all going to be hungry enough. We're going to want to be out of there by 7.
That is true.
I like how you think, man.
It's either that or they better start bringing in pizza. That's all I'm saying.
Salad.
Pizza salad?
Too many carbs.
All in moderation.
I was going to say, does this need one to be on? No. Okay. I got 7 on the nose. Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Have a roll call, please.
Morris.
Here.
Swinburne. Here. Woods.
Here.
Leak.
Here.
Cottle.
Here.
Casanello.
Here. Here. Great. If we could all stand for just a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. And it's while standing, while we go ahead and do our pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. So it's my understanding the PC has already had their public hearing regarding the special use for 6850, but we still need to include and have ours, is my understanding. So why don't we go ahead and I'll open the public hearing for the special use for 6850 track court for the in-home business. If anybody would like to speak either in favor or opposition, if you could just come up to the podium. And last and final call for anybody for public hearing for special use permit. Go ahead and close the public hearing. Roll call.
No, you don't need to.
Okay, great. All right, so go ahead, Mr. Henshaw.
Mr. Mayor, just with that regard, due to the agenda, you are all called to basically hopefully take that up to action, or you could move that to the agenda items, I would assume. But we had it slated that you could take action at this time or move it to the agenda item.
Right.
Agenda.
Since we don't have it listed, you mean?
I do have it listed right below.
Correct.
So you're looking for a motion?
Yeah. The motion's on packet page 3.
Oh. Yes.
Okay, I'll move. If I may, I'll move that the town council approve SUP number 201-40609, Capstone Company, Inc., for an in-home occupation at 6850 Track Court, as described on a special use permit application and narrative received by the town on June 9th, 2014, pursuant to Section 58-98(8) of the zoning ordinance, and subject to the development standards of Section 58-16 home occupations. And I further move that the SUP shall remain in effect for a period of 1 year, to renew automatically for additional periods of 1 year, but expressly conditioned upon the following. Council may require upon a majority vote, after notice to the applicant, for the applicant or present property owner, to submit a new application for an SUP, which shall be treated in all respects as a new and different application, subject to approval or disapproval in accordance with general principles of law for a new application. If such notice is given to the applicant or present property owner, this SUP shall terminate automatically and without further notice or action by the council 60 days from the giving of such notice.
Second.
Motion been second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Swinford.
Yes.
Woods.
Aye.
Tyler.
Yes.
Rosenbaum.
Aye.
Hagan.
Yes.
Great. Our next item is our citizens' time. Anybody who'd like to speak, you can come up to the podium. We did have some rules that I think have been distributed, just basically outlining our citizens' time.
Mr. Mayor, we are continuing to work on that flyer that was discussed at the work session, but we will have that available for next Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Hi, good evening.
Hi, I have submitted my name and address to the clerk. Thank you. I was here several months ago and touched on two items. One was traffic that will be generated by the new elementary school on Haymarket Drive, and requesting that the town contact Prince William County Schools regarding how the Kissenroy people in particular would be accessing that so that there is not any increased traffic within the town on Old Carolina and Fayette, that type of thing. The second thing that I had mentioned at the time was the stream on the south side of the railroad tracks, and that it needed a lot of work. And I had previously brought that to the attention to the town a year and a half prior, and it still is a mosquito breeding ground. At this time, I would like to bring two items to the attention of the council. One is just an offhanded remark. My sister is visiting me in several weeks, and she asked me, quote, "Is that junky falling down house still at the top of Fayette Street?" And I would request that the town ask the property owner to do something, please. It's been that way for 13, 14 years. Enough. But the main reason I'm here is that I got a letter from Virginia Power, and there is an open house September the 10th from 5 to 7:30 at the high school regarding a transmission line that is going to go follow the tracks pretty much over to the west of Route 15. I would hope that the town would have some remarks to give to Dominion regarding that. In their plethora of documentation, they have said because of increasing commercial, blah, 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 it's not us, it's not the town, and I don't know why we have to suffer for this. But I would like to bring particular attention to a remark that they have here in quotes about the Virginia Department of Health, saying, with these regards to these transmission lines, which there is a photograph, they're huge. Even if it's assumed that there is an increased risk of cancer, as implied in some epidemiological studies, the empirical relative risk appears to be fairly small. I'm offended by that remark. My son did have brain surgery as a result of something like this, and I would say that since I would be living relatively close to them, that there is a good chance that my granddaughters will not be able to come and visit. Please do something. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I don't know the rules because I don't have them, but I'll say who I am. I know that, and I have to speak loudly. I'm Dottie Leonard. I live at 14801 Washington Street. And I'm here about an old issue. I'm still noticing that the road isn't finished, and I know I want to make it clear. If there are any reporters in the room, it's not the fault of these people. They did not do it. The engineering work leaves much to be desired. I've lived in the town for over 40 years. A.C. Watts has lived here for over 50 years. Both of us are majorly affected by this, as are some other property owners. But The main reason I'm here is I think that it would be really useful for this council to look at the engineering work. I'm hearing that there are problems with the engineering work and that that's one of the delays. I've been extremely inconvenienced, and I'm being as patient as I can be. I had to walk out my backyard, down the street, get in my car somewhere else, and the neighbors over there look at me like I'm stealing their spot in the neighborhood. It is a public road, so I feel like I'm okay to park there, but I just hope it doesn't go on much longer. Even though this is something that's going to have me before you many times, I would even like an executive session or a work session time that I and A.C. Watts and his son could communicate with you, because this is a new council. And if you find that in your hearts or professionalism to do, I'd be grateful. I know he'd be grateful. He called me earlier this evening and asked me to please mention him to you again tonight. I told him I have, and I always will. So I don't know how you want to address this, but I know that I love my town. He loves his town. We don't want to sue our town. I believe in suing individuals who do bad things, and none of you have done anything bad, and I'd rather not sue anybody. I would just like somebody to be honest and make things right, and I know that a lot of it goes back to an engineer who's willing to be used, and I would like you to look at that position. While I was on the town council many years ago, we had an engineer on the town council. It was wonderful. He was so useful. Then later we had James Payne. He was wonderful. We've never had situations like this before, and I'm very grateful if you'll just look at it. And I was speaking for A.C. Watts as well as myself, so if I went over.
Thank you. Thank you, Dottie.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive. I'm going to speak with two hats tonight. One is an irritated resident, and one is an agitated chair of the Planning Commission. Had a laundry list of things. I kind of had to throw that away due to the events of the day. Got a letter from Dominion Valley, similar to the one that she got. And I also saw it noted in the paper today about the power line. The timing is interesting. It's come to my attention that the town's known about this for a couple of weeks. And I, quite frankly, wish the town had informed the residents as soon as possible, rather than having to wait for it to be published in the paper or get a letter from Dominion Valley. I say that because you've got a short period of time between now and the public hearing, or the public meeting, whatever they're going to have. It's a short one-month period to research and consolidate community opinion on this particular issue. It encompasses the time when people are getting ready to go back to school. It encompasses vacation time. It's going to be very difficult to get the impacted residents together and consolidate and to get some form of consensus on the position with regard to the power line. I've already heard it in the short time I've been home this afternoon. People already screaming at me in the street because they're going to be able to see it from their house. It's roughly 250 feet from my house. Note a couple of things about it. It's going to have a residential impact. It's going to have a residential impact. It's going to have an impact on our commercial district. It's going to have an impact on our conservation district. It runs right through it all. It's going to have a potentially negative impact on a lot of people's property values as it goes through the entire southern section of the town, with overhead power lines not buried on poles that are generally about 100 to 110 feet tall. It cuts through the floodplain. It cuts through the conservation area. It cuts through the commercial area on the west end of town. Looking at the report, there's little support for it, at least that I can find in the limited study materials they've got. They have done something somewhat unusual in this particular case. For those of you that are unaware, I've actually been involved with a lot of these ones. The Warrenton-Wheeler line, the power lines up through Dominion, a couple of other ones. It's the same old story, but in this particular instance, they've kind of thrown everybody a curveball in that they've presented a single option. There are no alternate options. There are no alternate routes. And it seems like they've chosen the one that impacts the most residents possible, most residential properties possible, rather than skirting the town, going, let's say, alongside Prince William County property, using VDOT easements, that sort of thing. The cynical side of me says that that's a ploy on their part because they've got a different line or a different route that they want. They want people to complain. We'll get to that later on. Like I said, I've worked on the Warrenton-Wheeler problem with some of the residents out in Bristow and Nokesville. It's interesting. In the case of the Warrenton-Wheeler line and substation, and in the case of the Stonehaven substation before that, the premise was those were the power lines, those were the needed improvements to address the power grid problems in this area and in that area. Well, here we are again. You know, they're adding yet another one. The question is, what's next? Who's next? If not us, who? Seems to be a continuing roadshow with Dominion Valley. Their stated needs don't exist in their report, either from a town or a county planning or zoning standpoint or context. They claim the reason for it is rapid commercial and industrial growth in the area. That doesn't have any context with regard to the reality, both currently on the ground or with regard to what's planned, either long-range or immediate use, particularly in a county where they're going to put the substation. As a matter of fact, the commercial areas out there were recently downzoned to residential, and despite their assertion that they want to put the substation in anything but a residential area, they're locating it in the middle of the Midwood residential complex that's planned and right next to the villages of Piedmont. There is little commercial growth beyond what's already out there that's going to happen, and there's no industrial growth. So I would strongly suggest you guys question their study materials and the reasoning for it. It covers my residents' concerns. As the chair of the Planning Commission, I'm a little annoyed. I don't know how many of you know it, but I know the town manager has known this for several weeks. In that intervening period, we have met with several property owners who are impacted by this or could potentially be impacted by an alternative and didn't know about this. And it would have colored the discussions, to put it kindly. The other thing is, we're in the midst of redoing the comp plan. In fact, we're going to be dealing with it next Monday night. And this is the kind of material that we need as early as possible, because now we're going to potentially have to rewrite the comp plan yet again and delay it several more months. So if this had been on our desks as early as is humanly possible, we could have saved you guys a whole lot of time and probably a whole lot of money, because now we're going to have to look at additional publications. That's it. I just wish you guys would keep us in the loop on this, because it does have a significant impact on planning. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, any other citizens? We'll move on to our consent agenda items. And this is the first that we've done something like this, so my understanding we can group this as one motion, and then maybe obviously take a roll call vote. Would that be fair enough? So, anybody want
Can
to
the motion
try
be
to?
as simple as to approve the consent agenda, or does it have to be more specific?
No, just to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, discussion. Just make sure we all are clear on this. We're agreeing to all the items in the consent agenda, so we'll be voting on them as one vote.
I did have just one item to note from the appropriation request for the sound system. I didn't have the opportunity to be here for the work session, but I did notice that in one of the proposals, at least, there were going to be a couple more speakers put in the room, and I just wondered if we had considered that in any of the other proposals, specifically the, I think it's CTSI, is that it?
Yeah, CTSI.
Proposal. I didn't see it in there. Wondered if maybe we could ask them to just evaluate that need. A couple more speakers and running the lines to them shouldn't cost more than $300 extra bucks. And since we are so low already on the budget for that proposal, just considering that, because 4 speakers for the room this size, especially the in-ceiling kind, is a little bit small.
Mr. Mayor, what I would suggest then is...
Should we pull that?
Pull that and put that under agenda items as a separate agenda item, and then vote on the remaining parts of the consent agenda.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to remove the appropriation request sound system from the consent agenda.
Would that be added as 7D? Would that be acceptable?
Yep. Just to agree to your second. And we're still on discussion. So if there's no further discussion on the consent items, we'll go ahead and roll call vote, please.
Morris?
Yes.
Swinford?
Yes.
Woods?
Aye.
Cottle?
Yes.
Passanello?
Aye.
And Aiken?
Yes.
Great. All right. Moving on to our agenda items, we'll take the first item, the Planning Commission and ARB membership, 7A. We had some discussion at our work session, and I think we have a draft motion on page 71 and 72.
I move to approve the addition of 2 members to the Planning Commission for the State Code 15.2-2212 that allows jurisdiction of the state of Virginia to have up to 15 members on the appointed Planning Commission. Furthermore, I move to approve the addition of 2 members to the town's Architectural Review Board and authorize the town clerk to advertise the open positions to the PC and ARB as soon as possible.
I second.
Okay, motion's been seconded by Mr. Morris. Any discussion on this? Have a roll call vote, please.
Morris?
Yes.
Swinford?
Yes.
Woods?
Aye.
Cottle?
Yes.
Passanello?
Aye.
Aiken?
Yes.
Great, okay. So the advertising will, I guess, be normal way of the website. Okay, great. Our next item is our VML DACO investment pool.
I move to adopt ordinance 2014-0804-1 authorizing the Town of Haymarket's participation in the DACO VML Investment Pool Trust Fund for the purpose of investing funds belonging to the Town of Haymarket in certain authorized investments in accordance with sections 2.2-401, sections 2.24501 and 15.2-1300 of the Code of Virginia.
Motion is seconded by Mr. Pessinelli. Any discussion on this?
Yes, as we talked about, and Kurt was not there, but as we talked about in the work session, I just want to bring him up to speed that we're talking about joining a fund that already exists in the state of Virginia, which would give us better rates on our investments. And we're only talking about putting probably only about 10% of our available assets into that right now, just to see how it goes.
Yep. Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Morris?
Yes.
Swinford?
Yes.
Woods?
Aye.
Cottle?
Yes.
Passanello?
Aye.
Aiken?
Yes.
Our next item to receive the invocation guidelines.
These were not in our last meeting, and nobody's had a chance to review them yet. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think we were using, I think, was it the one town's, right, exactly. And we were looking for a preamble as well, which I don't see that we had maybe a chance to get that completed.
No, I'm sorry. That was my job, and I have not had an opportunity to do that.
It's okay.
People apparently liked what I said at the work session, so maybe I should just go back to the video and write down what I said. Yeah, we'll get back to you, and plenty of time for you to review it for your September meeting if that's the will of the council.
That would be,
Mr. Mayor, should I then move on this to table for
you could table till our next thing.
next work session?
Yep.
I move that we table this discussion item until the next work session.
Second by Mr. Woods. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, great. And now we're adding item number D. Jennifer, you probably have the most background. Remember, we had 2 proposals that came in. We had a third vendor you met with. They came in almost half the price.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and did they come up with, I think there was additional things that they were able to do, wireless mics. I know that the
Hearing impaired.
hearing impaired was a big plus. So it's just probably just a matter of then additional speakers that we could add to this.
And they may determine that they're not needed. I just want to have them take a look and give their opinion on that.
Yeah, I know it's. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Typically, when they do this, do they do acoustical studies while they do their design? And so then they'll make a determination based on that study whether they need it or not. Perhaps.
Yeah, that's always been a complaint for the citizens not being able to hear from the back properly, or so.
I don't think it would hurt just having them look into it to see.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
Well done.
Well, my question is, what we're about to approve does not include that. So they would have to install what they had, do an analysis to see if we need something extra, and then put a proposal forth for a come back another time to finish the job. Is that what we're looking for?
Is it possible, Mr. Mayor, to set an amount that we would say if it's a certain amount more than what is proposed, then we go ahead and approve this, so we get this going, and then we can have the town clerk go ahead and.
I would hesitate to do that because it's open record, and that vendor would have the ability to know what we have proposed.
Sure.
And therefore, all of a sudden, it becomes that price,
Yeah.
that maximum price.
When were they looking to install? I mean, is this like a 2-3 week process?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hold it up. I know it's
Right.
something we really need.
Yeah. For like.
I mean, I'm okay with let's get it done, let them do the analysis, and then come back to us for a secondary installation if necessary.
Right.
I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure everyone understands that.
Yeah.
Another alternative would be to authorize the manager, if he feels that it's an appropriate price, to go ahead and approve that as an add-on.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. There you go.
I think it's a very good idea.
I would be okay with that too.
All right. So if somebody want to drop that in the form of a motion, and we'll.
I'll make a motion to approve the appropriation request for the sound system. Thank you. I move to authorize staff to proceed forward with CTSI's proposal for the installation of new sound equipment in the council chambers as a continued effort to provide citizens and visitors with a positive experience when attending town meetings or utilizing the town council chambers. In addition, I move to request CTSI to explore the addition of potentially several new speakers in the rear of towards the rear of the assembly area for the residents and interested people that come here to listen to us to have a better sound out there, and to allow the town manager to determine if that expense is appropriate and within reason, and allow him to proceed forward with that, with our approval. If not, then it would come to us at the next meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wood. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Marks.
Yes.
Woods.
Yeah. Yes.
Woods.
Aye.
Carl.
Yes.
Costello.
Aye.
And Aiken.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Moving along, our department reports.
It's not here.
Engineer report, our first item. Of course, you might want to see if you have any insight. It seems like after Holly met with with Finley, I saw a lot of activity, even on, I think it was Saturday. That looks like, was it 100% no, but it was at least noticeable that the work that has been done, a little late coming, but maybe you can.
I'm not commenting because I want to keep on going. So.
Okay, yeah. So we won't stop this progress that's happening. That. Yeah.
I'm in the Sparks Fire Department station. The only thing I can speak on Holly's behalf, she was actually celebrating an anniversary this evening, so that's why she couldn't make it. But Finley is well aware of our deadline and our expectations, and so they are moving forward with the project. We know this has been an encumbrance amongst many residents, and even those who aren't necessarily affected directly by the construction. It's been an encumbrance to all of us, and so we understand that. And anytime you have construction, it's going to be an encumbrance in some regard. Our hope and goal is for it to get finished as quickly as possible. We are doing everything we possibly can to keep on them to make sure they are achieving the goal that we have. So.
Okay. What is the projected completion date? I mean, obviously we have residences being impacted, residents rather, and when somebody has to walk to a neighboring community to access their car. Seems a little extreme that they have to do that. So when is this thing going to be completely finished?
We are working with them to get an updated schedule. I actually have to defer to Holly a little bit with regard to that exact date. I just cannot remember it. I've been included in that correspondence. The way the contract currently reads, they are to be done and completed by August 26th. After which case, then I'm going to have to defer to our liquidated damages clause would then take effect. That was the term I was looking for. Would then take effect, and they would be basically under those liquidated damages as part of the contract. They can submit a request, but as of right now, at this point, we have not received any requests for any kind of extension. We've been working with our construction management, which is VDOT has been helping us with our construction management, and we feel that we have a reason to say, we need to press on and get this done. We have laid out to Finley that we really see that, for the most part, everything needs to be as completed as possible, completed to the best potential finished product by Haymarket Day, which is September the 20th. So if anything, we're looking and asking them to hold them to a deadline of no more than 4 weeks. That may not be a complete punch list completion, but at that point, all the roads and the sidewalks would be completed, and it would just be a matter of coming to install like street lights and the amenities that are part of the project. That's what we're shooting for.
Okay. Question, sir.
Sure.
Do you think, in your opinion, the potential fines that will be levied on Finley, do you think they take that seriously? I don't know if our attorney...
Penalty, right?
It's a liquidated damages, yes.
And do you think they take that seriously to know that these are the steps that we as a town will take if they're not finished by this deadline?
Absolutely, I believe so. They had numerous discussions with Ms. Montague with regard to those liquidated damages, and they're quite aware that if they want to have an extension, they need to file an extension and document why they need the extension, and if they're claiming that their delay is caused by us, they need to document that. And she's indicated that we have documentation that they had days when they could have been working and were not. So that's probably why they haven't filed the request for an extension at this point yet, is that they know that it will probably be denied at this point. Instead, what they're doing is bringing in extra crews and working it a little bit harder, which is what they need to do.
I know we have at least one person who's here who is affected directly. Do we need to spell out what these penalties, you corrected me, it wasn't penalties.
Liquidated damages.
Yeah, that term. Do we need to spell that out to the resident who's here, what the steps are if they're not completed by August 26th?
Right. If any day that they are late for each day, there's a liquidated damage penalty and $1,000 per day. So if they're 2 days late, that's $2,000. If 20 days late, it's $20,000. And that would be deducted from what we owe them, and then we would pay them the balance. The liquidated damages are a tool to compensate the town for its actual damages when those are difficult to calculate. It's difficult to say what the harm to the city, to the town is. We know that there's a harm to the town, there's harm to the residents. It's hard to say exactly what that is. So when we have a liquidated damages clause in a contract, it says we're going to agree to set the amount of damages at this amount per day. And so that's something they agreed to in the contract. That is something they were well aware of when they signed it, and they've been made aware of it again and again as the contract has progressed, the work has progressed. So they're very aware that they need to be mindful of that, and that we will be assessing those penalties, those liquidated damages if they are not substantially complete by the date of the contract.
Okay.
Would it be possible when you're working with them to find out the anticipated date that those other properties will no longer be impacted? I imagine that their work will continue as they clean up and do other things, but access for those property owners that are impacted, perhaps we can kind of get a sense for those owners.
What I'd say is to this date, we've concentrated on the project as a whole, getting those done. We can certainly field that question out to them.
Because it does seem like they're making some kind of accommodations for, like, one of the lots. They cemented half the driveway, allowing that access going in and out on their other half of the driveway. But, for example, we have a loop driveway, and she has no access on either side.
That's correct.
And they're doing the concrete as well. So
we knew that there'd be inconveniences just with the nature of the construction, and I think there's been better ways they probably could have managed this, but at this point we're just concentrating on just trying to get them to get completed as quickly as possible.
Is there any way, like, the Public Safety Committee could reach out to the residences that are really being impacted? This lady gets home late at night, it's dark, and she's got to walk. I mean, I'm just concerned for, the elderly in our town that are being impacted. Somebody could at least reach out and say, hey, how can we help you mitigate your inconvenience? I think that would be a goodwill gesture, just to knock on the door and say, hey, how can we help you? I mean, it's one thing to sit here and $1,000 a day, that really doesn't help that individual day to day, because I'm probably not going to knock on her door and say, here's $5,000 because you had to walk, you know what I mean? So maybe I think we could do something like that.
We can certainly look into that.
Yes. Just imagine things of just going to the grocery store. How are you going to, you got to take this stuff through your backyard to the day-to-day.
And my trash.
It's trash.
I've had trash pickup for months, and I can't carry it out. I have to wait till someone shows up who can carry my trash out.
So we could definitely look into see what we can do for the next few weeks. Okay. Anything on our engineer's report? We'll go to our building officials report. I would have to just comment that I definitely like the format and the detailed that we're going forward with our building officials report. It's great. I agree. No other comments there. We'll move on to our planner's report. Any comments on that? If not, we'll other comments on that? We'll move on to our museum report, which is following along page 113. No comments of that? Okay, our treasurer's report from staff. Anything further, Mr. Henshaw, that you want to point out?
I have nothing to add.
Okay.
No significant changes from a week ago when we looked at it.
No.
Great. All right. And we'll move on to our police report. Chief Smith, anything else you'd like to add to our police report?
No other questions. I could just quickly remind everybody tomorrow night, for the members of council as well as the community that's either here or listening tonight, tomorrow night's the big show, National Night Out, right out front here from 5 to 9. It's part of the larger National Night Out program that's running on its 30th year. It started in 1984, and we'd like to see as many as possible there to get to know your local police officers.
Okay, great, all right.
I'll
thank
remind
you.
everyone the band starts at 7.
Right, great. Was that the turn? No. Oh, okay, great. I wanted to ask for a little, switch things around here a little bit more. I know we had citizens' time. I know Mr. Watts, A.C. Watts, one of our longest residents of the town, I think moved here in 1960, 61 or 63, I can't remember, A.C., but early 60s. Yeah. But he just wanted to come up and talk to the council. Mr. Watts, I think, has felt over the years, because of the planning and the way the current zoning is in his parcel, that I think he would like to have some consideration. I know that I think the comp plan is going for review, and they're coming up with amendments to that plan. And Mr. Watts is hoping that that consideration will be given to him, that he would go back to commercial or transition commercial. Our town planner, I wish Marchand was here to be able to speak on this, but we'll definitely be able to put this on our agenda for our next work session to give the proper time. And I'm sorry if I know that you wanted me to kind of give the preamble, but if there's anything you would add, AC, to what I said.
Not really.
Yeah. The
sooner the better, then.
Sooner the better, yeah.
I moved in Haymarket in 61. Seen a lot.
And approximately, I guess, so many years ago, they left his property. Did he ever have the CT, or did they ever have?
He was planned.
Yes, so he did have it, and they switched.
He didn't have it. He's
Oh.
never had, because residential zoning is, his zoning is residential.
Right.
The future land use map is called for commercial on his property.
Correct.
And for many years, about 20 years. And in 2008, that got changed to future land use residential.
Right. So there's only 3 parcels, I think. Is it 3 that on Washington that basically has this residential status, and the town planner will be bringing his recommendation to the council regarding this. I know it has gone through the PC, but unfortunately it did not go anywhere. Marchand mentioned that he brought this up and that they weren't willing to change that, but I think we need to hear from our planner and look at this, and
When does it look like I may have a commercial?
I'm sorry, sir.
I said, when does it look like I may have it?
Well, what would have to happen, it's my understanding, it would have to go through, it would have to come up to the council as maybe an amendment to the current comp plan that will allow these parcels to be transitioned, or I think that would give you the most flexibility, commercial transition. We're hoping to bring this up at our next meeting, which will be our next council meeting, and have some kind of recommendation from our planner, and see what we can do to get this amended. I know there are other items that they'd like to amend as well, so we want to get this, I think.
Do I have to come back to the meeting?
No, you won't have to. Hopefully we'll be able to come to your home and let you know what's going on.
I see you come by there all the time.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you as a resident and being one of the oldest ones. I mean, 1960, would you say 61 or 63?
61.
61, that's right.
Roughly long in there.
Yeah, right. It's a long time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
It has always been zoned as
No, the current zoning has always been residential.
the current zoning. It wasn't applied for
No.
But all the other properties have
commercial or
Just the future zoning, not the current zoning.
Can I explain
Sure.
it, please?
Well, sure, Dottie, if you'd like to come up.
Because I was on the planning commission when it happened.
Oh, you did it.
You did.
And
You're the one who did.
No, I did not do it. I was outnumbered. Some of you know what it's like to be outnumbered.
Yes, ma'am.
It was planned commercial for many years, over 20 years. Planning, and then you come in eventually for your application to request the zoning. He didn't request the change in zoning because he just thought, I'll do it later when I get my house sold. by the time he got his house sold, got an offer on it, it had been down planned back to residential to never have the option to go in for the commercial use. So after 20 or more years of being, it was actually, the town was planned for the whole Washington Street, both sides, to be commercial. And it makes sense when you look. It's his house and the two little Ramblers next door are the only thing that aren't commercial. I'm on the other side of him. I've been commercial for years because the person who owned my house went in and applied. The whole Haymarket Station was down zone. It was already commercial as well. It was down zone to high-density residential, or where you're living would not be that close together. It's so that the property owner got the just use of their, the just value of their zoning without losing their zoning. And that's what's happened to him. He lost out in the comprehensive plan. And the planning commissioner that you have as chair now was the one who did it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for giving us that information. AC, thank you very much. I know it was probably a struggle just to come out tonight, and I wanted to thank you for coming out. But at least we have a face now to some of these people that when we say AC Watts, we know who you are. So.
You know who I am.
Yeah, so, yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I know Marshall is on his way. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So everything along Washington Street is commercial, with the exception of his 3 properties.
Correct.
The large white house is also residential.
It's the large.
The large white house next to the Ramblers. There's the Ramblers, the large white house.
That's
and
right.
AC.
That's correct. That's residential.
Okay.
I think she's talking about the house in front, because AC lives in the back.
Up in the back.
Yeah, yes. AC's in the back. The larger White House is in the front.
Right.
Correct.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
All
They
right.
share the driveway, right?
Yeah, I think they do. They do share.
You have a picture of it?
Please. You must
The ones
have
in
landed.
white. Yeah, the ones in white.
Can you, do you mind just,
It's just west of St. Paul. It just east of Madison. It's 3 lots, right?
Yeah.
so
Everything else is, yeah.
that would make common sense.
Yes.
To tie it all together.
Correct.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Goodbye, Val.
Somebody say Van?
Yeah. Next time you do like this.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, thank you. Moving on into our town manager's report, and we'll see if there's anything additional that.
Mr. Mayor, I really don't have anything really to add. I'll be happy to answer any questions off the town manager's report. After having gotten with most of the council members, I do believe it looks like Saturday, September 27th is going to be our best date for the retreat. Works out well. Mr. Chandler should be able to join us that Saturday as well. So I'll work on venue and location, get the details out to you all.
Is that date now firm?
That date is firm with you all. We just don't have the location.
September
27th. We will advertise that. That'll be awesome. Also, during the work session, we also had some draft policies. I'll continue to work with our town attorney on hammering those policies out. We'll continue to get drafts to you. And then other than that, just to keep you all it all in your all's mind, don't forget the VML conference, which is not until October, but registration basically starts here in August. So in October, it's like right at the beginning of October. So look at your calendars, and the dates are in your agenda packets.
A couple other things you might want to mention about we hosted this past week.
Yes, we had a very successful Town Association of Northern Virginia committee meeting that we have. This is basically all the jurisdictions in the surrounding counties. It includes, I believe, I'm not sure if it includes Fauquier, but I do know it includes Prince William County, Fairfax County, and Loudoun County. And we kind of all get together as towns and talk about regionally specific issues. It was really well attended. We got a chance to show them a little bit of what our vision is here in Haymarket, and really it was a a good meeting. And these meetings happen quarterly, and we rotate the various locations. So it gives the towns a chance to kind of show what they're doing, what they're in the middle to do. And then other than that, it's a good chance for us to network and kind of talk about some of the issues we face from one town to another. And you find out you actually have a lot of similarities in most cases.
Okay.
Was there anything else?
Any other questions? All right, great.
All right.
Thank you.
One thing I will add, I haven't gotten the invitation out, but we will be having a open business coffee on probably that's date, which is tentative as of right now, but it will be Friday, August the 22nd, probably around 8.
Okay, great.
What time?
8:30 a.m.
All right. Moving on, our closed session, we have, I think, two items, yes, 2 items for a closed session. So, Mr. Kramer, if you could actually bring us into.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, the motion would be in the form that the council convene in closed session to discuss the following. As permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1, personnel matters involving the police department investigation, and as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A7, consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring advice of counsel, specifically the lease with Very Thing and the Very Thing for Her.
Okay, all right. So moved.
So I have a question.
So,
Am I allowed?
Yes, you are.
okay. Let's first go through the motion.
Okay.
So we got it so moved. Did I have a second?
Second.
Second, I'm sorry. Discussion on the motion. I think you're
My
legal.
question is legal. I need to recuse myself from the Very Thing, but would obviously like to be involved in the update from the police department.
Right. So what we would normally do, and what I would suggest we do, is just call you in and do the police department one first, and then you would excuse yourself for the
Okay.
second part of the closed session.
Okay.
Okay. No further discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great.
Turn your document down.
Ready, Jen?
Yes, sir. I want to know nothing.
Secret things?
We ain't gonna tell you that. I know nothing.
No, that's Sergeant Schultz.
This is
Found my weak spot.
You're waiting for it to go.
At 8:52, we'll call the meeting back to order. Mr. Kramer, if you could bring us back into session.
Yeah, the motion to certify would be in the form that you move to certify that the council certifies that in the closed session just concluded nothing is discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion.
I so moved.
Okay. Second.
Marks.
Yes.
Swinburne.
Yes.
Woods.
Aye.
Lee.
Yes.
Cottle.
Yes.
Casanello.
Aye.
And Hickman.
Yes.
Great. All right. Our next items is our council member time. Mr. Morris.
There's one item, I believe, maybe something else pop up. There's one item that came to mind when one of the residents was commenting on how the town knew about the lines from Dominion, and we weren't informed. And I just wanted to probably look at our town's website and maybe challenging the town manager and the town clerk to look to see if that is there a way. Number one, is there a way where we could check to see the amount of traffic that gets to the town website and make that to the public? They know that is the way we're going to inform them. It doesn't necessarily mean that we should have acted on what the resident said earlier, but that should be our primary communication tool to the town residents. And I'm not saying that we knew before or we didn't act on it before. I just think that we need to be more proactive with our town website to get it to be that point of contact. Because for a resident to walk inside here to say they didn't know, oh, we're not here to rebut what they're suggesting, but to be able to say, hey, that is our means of communication. We can't send out letters or memos or cards to the town council, but I just think that we should use that as a means to communicate with them. In the same breath, I think we should use that website or other means to communicate about the town's museum. I think it is something that we need to promote more. When I look at the numbers, we had, I think, 90 visitors just during that period when we had the whole setup with the trains. But there has to be somewhere that we can start thinking, how do we promote the museum? How do we get it into the hands of the parents, especially those who have kids, to come out and view it more? So I know there are ideas out there. We just need to be able to talk about it and put it into action. I yield, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Ms. Swinburne.
Well, I'll piggyback on that, because actually an idea was approached to me about the museum, but it obviously would involve trying to find some, I don't know what the cost of air conditioning that caboose would be, but somebody suggested that it be out for rent for parties, particularly kids' birthday parties and things like that. And so that was brought to my attention.
I knew there were ideas out there.
So, but it would involve air conditioning if you're going to want use out of it, air conditioning and heat, use out of it all year long. So I don't know what the cost of that would involve. Would it be worth what we could get for the rental, et cetera, et cetera? I'm looking right at you.
Yep.
So, and I also just want to let you know that the ARB is working on getting like a welcome sign coming into the town. I think it's smaller than what they originally intended. That's kind of back on the plate again. I know they talked about it years ago, but I think part of it is to wait to see how this whole road restructuring is going to go before we get something, large. But talking with the Trail-a-Tears and that whole thing too. So, but they're working on plans for a welcome sign out here as you come into the town.
Okay, great. Mr. Woods.
I was just considering the other night, along kind of the same lines of communication with our residents, how we can get them more involved. Obviously, these council sessions aren't very well attended by our citizens, and I admit that up until I started running for council, I hadn't been to a meeting, and I think partially it's just a communication issue. When I moved in, I don't recall ever receiving a welcome letter or even a welcome packet from the town. I think that would be a great thing when a new resident moves in. I understand it would be kind of, it might be a logistical issue, but if we could just get something simple into their hands that says, here's a list of our businesses, maybe include some coupons. Here's our form of government and how that works for you and how you can be involved in that. Just considering getting them from the moment they move in, capturing their attention and letting them know not only that we're here, but that we're here to serve them and that they can have an active participation with us.
Good points, yeah. Okay. Mr. Cottle.
Yes, sir. Is Dominion having a public hearing on this?
Yes. Yes. My understanding.
September 10th.
I believe.
Right.
And Battlefield
How
High School.
soon did we know?
Yeah, and I think our reference tonight was about Dominion Valley, but I think the correction, it should have been Dominion Power is the correction.
Because really, as a council, we've known about this for, what, a week?
6
probably,
days.
yeah.
Since the planning meeting, right?
Which was last week, so it's not like we've known this information and haven't put it out. I mean, we're just finding out about it as well.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
And then the only other thing I have is, the business communication, which Brian's working on, which I think is important. And those are the only two things I have.
Okay, great. Mr. Presnell.
I'm very happy to hear that my colleagues on the council are talking about outreach and doing a comprehensive plan, because I think that's something that we really need to do and to get more people involved. So I'm happy that I'm hearing this discussion. I want to defer a couple comments until I believe you're going to be talking about a couple of proclamations.
Yeah, there are two that were presented to the, doesn't look like it would hit every council member, but I wanted to make sure that they were included to see if...
Okay, because if you do something with those, I'd like to make a comment at that time.
Okay. Okay.
I did have an interesting conversation with Supervisor Kalin today. A whole host of issues. I thought it would be a good idea, and I would recommend to everybody to try to reach out and to spend some time with him to talk about issues that affect both the town and the county. One of the things that we were talking about was this business tangible property tax. And he shared with me that he's been looking into it and trying to work with some of the business owners, in particular the dentist in town. And they're able to work with the PwC tax folks and to provide this gentleman with a longer payment period, perhaps, to help him kind of deal with the expense related to that, but also as a means of perhaps giving him time, playing for time so that a longer-term solution to his expense can be realized. So I wanted to share that with everybody in the council and the town, that folks are looking at that issue within the county. And he did happen to say a lot of good things about our staff here, and especially about some of the transportation issues. So I commend everybody on the staff who was involved in dealing with the county. And I shared with him my hope that we would be able to work a lot closer with the county on a host of issues. And I don't want to get into the laborious details, but we covered an hour of the discussion, and I'll share that with our council members, perhaps in a memo or whatever.
Okay. All right, great. Mr. Aiken?
Only thing I had, unless anybody objects, I was going to try to work directly with Dottie and AC and people like that to try to facilitate any small things we can do to try to help them. And I mean, there's obviously nothing major we can do right now, but we might be able to help them in some small way and assist them with getting their garbage out or something along those lines, just to try to do the best we can over these next few weeks and until they can have access to the property again.
Yep. Okay.
I'd like to volunteer to help. Yeah. Because I live in the community behind Dottie, and I'd be more than happy to help with some of those issues.
Okay. Great. Okay. All right. As you see, tab number 10, there were a couple of proclamations that were sent to the town. First of all, the Capital Area Food Bank had wrote and reached out to us about seeing if we could be involved in September 4th, where we're going to have they're asking for volunteers to man for 2 hours at a time, helping pack food bags. So I point that out to us as your schedules look at it, and maybe you can respond back to Jennifer, and we'll see what we can do to help there.
Great idea.
Another item was the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. That self-explanatory, but I don't know if that's the one you wanted to comment on.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank the council for considering this, and again, I want to thank you for last year when we did Blood Cancer Awareness Month in September, which is what I'd like to do again at the next meeting. But this is a very important issue. I just want people to understand that I represent a group, the Lymphoma Research Foundation, and when it comes to childhood cancer, that is the third most common form of childhood cancer, blood cancer, lymphoma. And awareness is really important. I think this is great that we do this. It's really important not only to raise awareness and to educate ourselves, but also to raise funding, because where the rubber meets the road is in the research. There are so many new drugs and so many new treatments out there. They're making great inroads for these types of childhood cancers, and I think we need to keep that pressure on and do all we can to help get that awareness out there. So I commend you, and I commend the council, and and others for doing this for our community.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I guess we could adopt a motion would be to
Approve the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month proclamation. That would be the form of the motion, would be to approve the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month proclamation found on page 136 of the packet.
I so move.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Swinford. Discussion?
Got one in.
Any further discussion on the motion?
No, sir.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Great. Next one was a proclamation for payroll week, which I kind of took me by interest there, trying to understand what this was all about. But I guess you briefly read through it, you'll be able to see. Everybody have a chance to read it?
Ready? I don't understand it. This makes no sense.
Any, Mr. Henshaw, do you have any background with this one?
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I cannot really comment anything with regard to payroll week. I mean, you're going through Labor Day. My understanding is basically in a town our size, we don't really have a department, but I guess in larger jurisdictions, this is probably where this comes from. And so it's just recognizing all the hard work that goes into that. This has been a ever evolving trade or profession, and so they've just asked for you to declare a week of yay for payroll process. Thank you, Jim.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Should we get a week off?
I'm not sure. I advocate that, no.
Do we have it?
I mean, I can see having a
Am I just
appreciation.
ignorant?
I find it unusual.
Okay. Do we have any support for this proclamation? I guess as we're going around the table here. Yeah.
I can't support something I don't know about.
Well, I was going to say, I don't want to not support the people that work for us in this town.
Right.
By any means. It's understanding, payroll week just sounds so unusual.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Yeah. Okay. Great. A couple other things. I've been contacted by the Willing Warriors. They're going to have an open house. There's like an 11,000 square feet facility that they're going to be opening up soon, and at the time they'll invite the council to come. So that was at QBE's open house. They had a representation from there. They reached out.
Where are they going to open that up?
Wounded, but Willing Warriors. Yeah, which is actually in Haymarket, the town proper. But
What does Will? Huh?
Willing? Like they're willing and able to do it?
We'll pass along more information. But I did want to mention that they were doing that. Other issue or thought was the Heriver Committee that hasn't actually got started yet. Hopefully, over the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to working with Brian to come up with a schedule, and then obviously get people involved in point. I know, like Mr. Carnahan, that's in the audience tonight, was wanting to serve on that, as well as I think the thought was somebody, maybe Joe from your side and Matt's side as well, to have citizens as we try to find out what is this that we're going to do, or how do we look at this information, how do we disseminate it.
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I'd offer is I am wrapping up the draft RFP. So as we work together with them in the coming month, in the month of August, it might not be a bad idea that as we're trying to put that committee together, it's also going hand in hand with the RFP to actually solicit consultants for the master plan processes.
Okay. All right. Okay. My only other comment was about Mr. Watts, but he was here tonight, so I'm glad to see that we're going to be looking at this information. Okay. Any other closing thoughts? No. Motion to adjourn? Just one other thought. Of course, tomorrow night, National Night Out right here. So just a reminder of that. And I think it goes for, we got 6 to...
Can I say one more thing?
5 to 9, right.
One more thing. I meant to say, we need people interested in being on the ARB and the PC. So anybody that you can recommend or talk to or speak to that might be suited for those two boards, we really need to kind of go forward with that. So just thought out there.
Okay.
Get the information out there, please.
Absolutely. Okay. Great. Motion to adjourn? Second. There you go. It took you long enough.